have not now on download our apps on your Android device. Your request you can count on.
From the girl, and you will see here her filters. What we're doing here is showing our telling our stories and telling stories of other women who have gone beyond her. And today on this is the first episode of the show. I'm not doing this alone. I have on the guests so much, Army. Thank you for coming on the show. So this show is proudly supported by the Ignite Project through Beyond Her Odds initiative. It's a platform that is created to amplify the voices of girls and young men, especially those who have gone through so much difficulty chasing their dreams, and presented by Beyond the Classroom Foundation. And of course, hosted by myself and many other young men who will be coming on the show. So now we will not be doing this usual, like we don't get it like this every Thursday. Usually we will, the way the show is planned is that we're going to have women who will come on the show to talk about their story and also tell us how they overcame these challenges. So but today we'll be talking about something really different. So please, can you introduce yourself first, and then we can get into the crux of the matter.
Okay, thank you so much, Arkady. Like I said, I'm super excited to be on the show today with you. I'm Idonsis Karis. I am a development economist, a project manager, and a girls' rights and education advocate. I'm really passionate about, supporting young girls and ensuring that they thrive wherever they find themselves. I'm super excited to be here because this is a platform that will give hope to young ladies and make them understand that they are not alone on their journey, and there are people who have gone ahead and are ready to show them how to navigate. So thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. And just so you know, this is not going to be your last time.
Yes.
We're going to invite you on the show again. And so, like I explained earlier, we're telling our stories and why our stories matter. And as women, a lot of time we're told to not tell our stories because imagine you get raped, for instance, and people say don't tell anyone because to bring shame to the family and stuff like that. So today we'll be talking about why our stories matter. So, but then first I would go with the particular story I heard when I was young that really inspired me and why I believe that as people, young women or not, we need to always tell our stories. So this man who told how he was traveling at some point and then he met someone who didn't have enough money to pay for their fare at this transportation station, and then he just helped the guy. He's a young guy, and then he paid for him, and then the guy rode with him, and then when they got on the road, they were attacked by robbers on the road, and it was this young man that helped him, that he paid, that helped him to go get safety, made calls, and ensure that he got to his destination safely because he was an older man. And he kept telling us how if he didn't help that young man, or that man didn't get on the bus with him, if and they were in an accident, what could have happened? That was a story that inspired me. Inspired an act of kindness to me. It wasn't something he thought through. It was a random act of kindness to me. But then, so what happens is that by hearing
have inspired me. I remember finishing from applying to jobs, and I kept having rejections at some point.
Oh my God.
But then I heard someone who had gone through the same situation, talked about how he was able to navigate through those rejections and take them as learning experiences. For me, that was an encouragement. I was also able to take the rejections I experienced, learn from them, find out where did I do right, where did I not do right, and use that to do better in applications, which eventually became successful. So that story was also able to inspire me to do better. Yes.
Yeah, it's great because a lot of times we're told not to share our stories, especially if it's a shameful story.
Yeah.
And like most of the stories we're going to be sharing on the show are stories of people who have gone through, like I mentioned, I like to say, a lot of odds, challenges, trauma, pain, and their journeys feel like, to them, we feel like it's not something that people should hear about. It's not something I should be saying. It will bring shame to my family. And so, for instance, I work at the Classroom Foundation, and we do a lot of work with people, girls, with out-of-school girls, and girls who get out of school because they get pregnant. And so parents will tell you a girl is pregnant, they lock her up for months. because no one anyone wants to know that she's pregnant. And so imagine locking up a girl in the house for months because she's pregnant, and then she gives birth, and then the mother takes on the baby as hers, and then no one knows that it's the girl that has the baby. And then one day the girl wakes up to say, I want to tell my story. And the mom says, no, you can't, because everyone already thinks this baby is mine, is your sister. How can you tell your sister that you are her mother after maybe like 10 years or, 15 years? But then this girl says, you know what, I have to tell my story because I know that somebody out there it might change their life, or it's important that I tell my story. So for what I see is that from next week, we're going to be hearing amazing stories, and actually look forward to it. Where we're bringing people who will tell us, like this story I just shared is part of someone's story that I read about someone that wants to come on the show. And when I read it, I'm not telling the entire story the way the person said it, but this is just a part of her entire story about her life. And so if you're listening to the show, wherever you are, you want to be inspired, this is the show for you. And if you're just tuning in, my name is Raquel Kasham Daniel. You can call me RKD. And I have with me here my co-host for the day,
Idong Essence Caris.
Thank you, Idong Essence. I always say that our stories matter. Yeah. And if you're not sharing your story, someone's sharing your story for you. And I tell you, the way they will share it, you will not like it at all. So let's get back into talking about stories, for instance. And one of the reasons why we started the Girls for the Future Fellowship is and which you're a part of, by the way, is because we wanted you, all Girls for the Future Fellows, to be a part of the stories of other girls, to be able to be as education champions and girls' rights champions, to work with girls in underserved communities and remote communities, to show them that, see, if I can do this, you can.
Yeah.
We're sharing your stories. For instance, we shared the story of one of the fellows. She'll be on the show too, and the girls were inspired. So tell me about this journey and why it's important that when you're done with this fellowship, you have to share the story.
Okay. I would like to say, starting this fellowship, what inspired me was the fact that as a girl in school, I faced very qualified. One just because I was female. I was like, in this day and age, how can we have people like, that's my reality at the time. I was able to still contest and win the election fair and square. Right, me to first of all apply for this fellowship, and this fellowship, I must say, has been amazing. I have learned so much. I have become more aware of my journey. I have also been able to interact with girls, like you mentioned, in the underserved. Like you also mentioned, girls who are out of school because of pregnancy or financial challenges. It just gives you the opportunity to see these things happen real life and in real time, right? And after this fellowship, which has been amazing, I look forward to telling people about my journey with the Girls for the Future Fellowship and how it has changed my life. It has given me so much direction. It has given me so much, helped me understand my purpose better. And I'm super excited. Yes, and look forward to sharing the story.
Thank you. So we'll be right back. If you're joining in, please hold on a second. We're not going anywhere.
From Milky Way Earth, everywhere there's internet, you can connect with Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. Log on to our website www.eagles.com. Follow and engage with us now on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok at Eagles FM Abuja, Instagram at Eagles FM 1023. Download our apps on Android and iOS stores. Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja, your radio experience you can count on.
Real men are strong, not because they intimidate, but because they protect. They don't raise their hands to hurt. They raise their voices to help. They don't stay silent when girls are unsafe. They speak up. They take action. A he for her is a man using his strength to build, not break. He stands with her. He speaks for her. He protects her. He walks beside her. Visit www.org to join the campaign. He for her, educating boys as allies to girls. This message is brought to you by Beyond the Classroom Foundation with support from the Ignite project, building a world where every girl is safe, seen, and supported.
All right, we're back again. If you're just tuning in, my name is Raquel Kasham Daniel, and you can call me RKD. This is Beyond Her Art Show, and with me in the house is
Idonga Karis.
Idongasi was just telling us about the Girls for the Future Fellowship, and if you've not heard about the For the Future Fellowship before, it's a fellowship run by Beyond the Classroom Foundation that's working with 20 bold, passionate young girls who have been trained and supported to become champions for girls' rights and education in their communities. And I'm really happy to have you here with me. And she was just sharing with us how she would share her story about the fellowship after she's done. And we're here today to talk about the value and why our stories matter. You know, there are so many stories that we're going to share today. But today on the show, I'm going to share a bit of story, so that we can talk about it. And one story I always like to talk about, which I enjoy talking about, is my personal story. So I'll share a bit of it, and then we can talk about it, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So if you heard my name, I said my name is Kasham, right? So a lot of people say, well, where does Raquel come from? But that's another story for another day. I will share that another time. But if you hear my name is Kasham. So of course I'm from Kaduna State. And there's someone that we used to joke and say, oh, the person is the least in their family, the family is the least in their state is the least in their country is the least in the continent, their continent is like that. If you ever have anybody like that, that person is me. Like that. Like I'm like the least. And then to make it worse, where I come from, no one in my family had ever gone past high school. And so for a long time, I didn't feel that story was important to share. So when people are talking about their lives and the things that they've gone through, I always felt like, that's not important to say. And so one day, I was somewhere and someone just said, oh, let's talk about our stories. And they gave me the microphone. I was like, I don't have anything to share. And the person was like, you do have a story, like anything from your past. And I just thought, random, let me just talk about the story. So here goes the story. I told them about how I'm from Kaduna State. No one in my family ever gone past high school. My father, when I was 9, told me that he would really want me to go past high school because he believes that I could. And at that point, and I'm using what believes like he's still alive, he believed. At that point, he saw that I was very daring. I was bold. I was a child that he didn't see that I was a girl. Even though I have 3 younger boys, my brothers at the time. But my father believed in me. And so he kept saying, if there's a jinx in this family that's stopping anyone from going to school, I believe you can break it. Like he says it in the way I'm saying it right now. And we're like, there's no jinx in this family. People just don't have enough to go to school. So it was his dream. But when he was 16, he passed. When I was 16, he passed. And so I just thought at that time that, this dream was going to die. But something in me felt like, I don't think that would happen, because I really liked my dad. I was daddy's girl. So I think to honor my father, what I did was I became determined to go to school. It was like it became a vision for me. So it was his dream that became my vision. And I held on to that vision so much that my younger brothers had to drop out of school because my mom had no money. And so my uncles say, oh, Raquel is big enough. Kasham should get married, And it wasn't that they were saying it for me to hear. I overheard it. And at 16, I decided I'd rather live on the streets than get married because I couldn't imagine my life married, 16. I was very bold. People used to call me lawyer because they said I was talking a lot, but not knowing that maybe I was going to end up on radio. Maybe that was the future, But I was saying that at the time I was sharing this story to people, and the whole room was, and I thought, what am I saying that is strange? And that was the moment I knew that I had to share my story. So I continued talking. I told them, I lived on the street of Lagos for almost 2 years, and the whole room was in silence. And they were like, how? You? Where? When? How? And I said, yes, I did. I used to clean brothels. Like there are 2 brothels in Obalende where I used to clean. And people were looking at me like, you don't look like what you've been through. And it was that moment I knew that our stories matter.
Yes.
And so I'm sharing that story to say that, and which I'm continuing to say that, if I didn't continue in that room, because people walked up to me after the meeting to say, how did you survive on the streets? What did you do? How did you come out of the streets? And I started to tell them how I did it. I knew I had a vision. It was my dad's dream. So every time when the girls are off to clubs to go and play, to go and meet their men, I go to clean the brothel. When I'm done, I try to cook because some of them will make me cook. And then I go to read. I used to carry books in my bag. I used to have this one bag that had 1 jeans and 2 t-shirts. And that was all I had. And the day I wash my jean, I would be up at night till morning so that nobody will steal it. Because if you steal it, then I won't have anything to wear the next day. And so, and I washed the jeans in like months, you know. And until one day I realized, well, I have to leave this place. But I knew that I was always reading my books and I was always reading my Bible. And then one day, one of them said to me to come with them to the club. And I said I couldn't, that I didn't want to, you know, because, and here's the reason why, and I say that a lot where I share my stories, that I've seen most of them come back and then they'll say XYZ person is gone. They just say it like it's casual. It meant that the girl went to club and didn't come back with the man. Maybe she's dead. That's what it meant, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, gone like how? They're like, she don't go, you know? And that's if they want to use things like make chin chin. And I wrote a lot of things on paper and I came and said, these are the business I can do. You said I should use what I have to get what I want. And then she looked at me and just thought, this girl must be crazy. And I recall she gave me money. It was 200 naira. And if you Google, you find how Raquel used 200 naira to start her business, of course. And then she gave me that 200 naira and I used it to get, I got empty bottles and I bought sobo, that's hibiscus leaf, and flour, I got sugar. Of course, we got water bottle and I started my sobo with 200. And I still had change. And then, but I was very smart to know that if I made this sobo and I start to hawk, I'll be able to clean. And if I hawk it, I will go all around in the sun. I won't sell. So what I did, people were making phone calls. So I'll ask them, can I leave 4 bottles here? So all the people making phone calls way back then when GSM was buzzing. I won't say what year so that you wouldn't know how old I am. I'm so old. Anyway, so I would drop like 4 bottles or 5 bottles in places and then come back in the evening to pick up the empty bottles. So I was already doing e-commerce ahead of my time. You know, so I was doing that e-commerce ahead of my time. You know, so I was doing that and I didn't want to put it in one place, so I didn't have to carry it around. So I still had my job, and that's when I started to make small money. And I realized, oh my God, I'm making money back. I had a lot of people around me. And that's when I end the stories that people have heard my stories, because the first time someone asked me to share my story, and which is what brought us to Beyond Our Odds. I realized if I shared my story, and a lot of people have been blessed by it, and a lot of girls have heard my story, and I said, if Kasham can do it, Kasham can go to school, because I eventually went to University of Lagos and graduated. If she could, I can, you know. And because I heard people say that to me. So, and I realized that we can bring other women to share their stories on the show. You know, we can have people come tell us what they've gone through, what they've been through, and how they did it. Because if we have time, I will talk about little steps that I took to go beyond my odds and be here today. You know, so I know you're looking at me, Raquel. I didn't know that part of your story. I know that part of your story. There's a lot to the story, right? You think so?
Yes, I do. And honestly, so inspiring, because in my head, I'm like, oh my God, there are also a lot of people who are currently going through this. They may even be listening to us at this point, and they will also say, if Raquel could do this, then I can also. It really goes to show that sharing the stories are really very, I mean, I'm so inspired.
To do what?
I'm so inspired to help other people.
Exactly.
Other people, you know, unleash their rights, then also give themselves to accomplish. Thank you so much.
Listening to my story, and I tell you steps that I took from this to be where I am. It's not late. I just want to take a break and we'll be back.
Men are strong, not because they intimidate, but because they protect. They don't raise their hands to hurt. They raise their voices to help. They don't stay silent when girls are unsafe. They speak up. They take action. A he for her is a man using his strength to build, not break. He stands with her. He speaks for her. He protects her. He walks beside her. Visit www.heforher.org to join the campaign. He for Her, educating boys as allies to girls. This message is brought to you by Beyond the Classroom Foundation with support from the Ignite project, building a world where everyone is safe, seen, and supported.
You're welcome back on the show. If you're just tuning in, I like to say my name is Raquel Kasham Daniel, but you can call me RKD, of course. This is Beyond Her Art Show, and we've been talking about why our stories matter. And Beyond Her Art Show is proudly supported by the Ignite Project through the Beyond Her Art Initiative. It's a platform that exists to amplify the voices of women and girls and young women, especially those who have overcome challenges in life. So if you are listening to the show, you want to get inspired, tune into the show every Thursday at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. to hear stories of amazing women who have gone beyond their odds and how they reclaim their future. I've been speaking to my co-host where we've been having a quick chat, and I told her my story. If you missed it, maybe I'll share it at the end of the show. Not today, but maybe at the end of the show, meaning 13 weeks, I might. But I was just talking about how I had a lot of challenges growing up. My father died when I was 16, but that didn't deter me. And so if you're listening about it, just remember that Raquel had those challenges, and I still got back on track. I went to university, I graduated, and I'm here today. So if I could do it, I like to say,
You can do it too.
you can do it too. So you don't get it. So tell me, any other story you have to share today?
Okay. I think I would like to share a story of a lady also who had a child when she was in secondary school, and she had to drop out as well for some time. But the interesting thing is she left school for 1 year, and after that 1 year she determined to go back to school.
Yeah.
And interestingly, she went back to school, finished secondary school, went to university, started her business, and currently is doing excellently well.
Amazing.
So when I think of her story as well, I'm like, wow, if she also could share her story to younger girls in her community or in her environment, this will also inspire them, to take the chance and overcome the challenges that they face, and also help not to find themselves in the situation that she found herself
Yeah.
as well. I was also thinking about your story, just
Yes, it's okay.
right, how powerful it is for people to know that we live in them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take it in you,
Yes.
that seed of faith in you that encourage you to not give up despite the challenges that you face. So it also goes to show that when we come in contact with people, no matter the situation that they find themselves in, we should try as much as possible to plant a seed of faith. You can believe in someone, and then that goes forth to make them overcome the challenges that they will face in their life. So it's also very important to plant seeds of faith in people wherever we find ourselves.
Thank you very much, Nuggets. That's actually very true, because I know that for a very long time, when I share my story, people walk up to me and say, oh, this is what I'm going through, this is what I've gone through, or this is, that I could, if I only met someone like you 5 years ago, 4 years ago, who told me to do X, Y, Z, I might have done better with my life, and then I'm thinking, okay, what can we start to do now with you, and so I promised before we went on break that I was going to share how the things that are growing up. And one of the things that happened is I was focused. That's actually the truth. I knew that I had to this challenge, this thing, and because like the thing for the man, like everything is big. But you're not going to need a degree, tops it anytime, something that my father was really proud that he was but that he really wanted to be great, how it made me, how it got me so that he could I'm going to get you less like and if you the person who has not when I think about like that was really cool. Like that's really but he put it by side. This is my thing things that for me or for clothes for me to have something to help with my because I was really bad to see planted. So that made me very focused. And so when I became a teenager where lot lost pure a lot of us we don't see that said, "Oh, go on, not the I was so very focused. If you want, it's good for you, for you. I was into challenges or you see, I didn't have no school, but if you actually, but if you're challenge, I was really would talk. Me, the fact would they would hear me because I'm actually she's coming from. So when I wouldn't don't forget family are coming from, you know. And then one mom is actually forget some of my disease. For my house, my mom is actually forget where I come from. Don't know where you're going to the laugh. You see it. I think it was really important. You know, my joke when I like was like joke growing up. I don't want me to be things. My father was always some family. I mean, from you know, this was but I didn't go into you know, don't look at it ahead because look everything I've joked with my parents about what I like. You're being embarrassed on the streets, things like me very focused. So what's the thing I feel like if I look come out and 10 years from now, I'm not going to if it was a thing that cared the most, you know, and I'm cool, my brother think like they say about me, and so sometimes they say on 15 years when I was there, I remember you are the source that was always praying, you know, and it was always and sure that was kind of like because but maybe all of them past. She shared her and now nobody but now she's and no I was happy that saw me she's so online and she's my that you know that I will the strong my free anytime and I have been the girl I am like to come out and you know lie so I confidently come on or talk your name say about people you that one thing at least I've met some of us who come and say I remember you need very well you know very this is where I didn't remember but I did not remember and now so thinking about it but of course maybe we are good to me but oh I saying that what we saw was on the prostitution one that it was a person was not about me it was not about me so when I said she actually meant for money for sanitary towels so you have to stop because you don't be story you don't want to tag or live in your community as that person and then that you want for you know so I'll come up with a sign after again remind me saying the things to me for what that help the most important is faith you know might be you think I heard to my heart as Christian that I recall when I wanted to go for the first time I was in clothes I wanted to go and I was wearing left face so extra what is like it doesn't matter today but to know that clothes and I from when I went there and the guy said I was too dressed and me said that I would walk to stay on not them free advert to go into and the guy I could go things and I I folded it like it's written. Why? You know, let me come. Eventually, I did. There's a bunch of police in my face who they wanted to police knife. I'm like, people want me to be for me to that. You cannot look for a dress for me. I have to be short. I just to be short. It just showed why I didn't want to be there in the first place as a young person. So it was personal conviction. So if you are listening to the show, you're just tuning in. My name is Raquel Kashamdao. They call me RKD, and I've been speaking with my co-host for today. And we've been having a great time talking about why our stories matter. And if you've been listening, you can see that Raquel has shared almost all her life story to you, just to inspire you, to tell you that, you know, another person might be listening and the person will need to hear your story. So, you don't get it. I was studying about sanitary pad story. Have you heard about it? It was on news one time. It was so popular. I don't know if you heard it.
No, I'm not sure.
So that there's a community where girls sleep with men for pads because they can't afford sanitary towels. And so somebody even wrote an article about it. It was, if you Google it when we're done, you'll find it here in Abuja, actually. And even some states, some places in Cross River, 2 other places where people have done research and found girls who were sleeping with men for sanitary towels. And so I met one girl that was her story too, you know, and all that. I was like, I've never met anybody who, you know, I've only read about this on the her, and she told me, yeah, it was a story because she couldn't afford to buy sanitary towels. So, and it broke my heart, you know. So I was linking that story to the fact when I said to her that you don't want that to be your story because our stories matter. Yes, because our stories matter. The story that your story of your life matter. When you finally leave here, what are people going to say about you? You know, how are people going to remember you? Are they going to remember you as XYZ or as ABC? You know, so that's something to also remember, to always remember. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I also want to ask a question.
Okay.
In relation to your story as well. Were there times you felt very pressured? Because, you know, young people, especially teenagers, they go through peer pressure.
Yeah.
At that age a lot, and there's peer pressure at different levels.
Yes.
But were there times where you thought, this is my good girl, is he going to pay in the end?
Oh my God.
So were there times like that? And then how were you able to overcome the pressure that you felt if you had situations like that?
Oh yes, I did, but I will answer that question when we come back from this break.
Eagles 102.3 Abuja.
From Milky Way to Earth, everywhere there's internet, you can connect with Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. Log on to our website www.eaglesfm.com. Follow and engage with us now on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok at Eagles FM Abuja, Instagram at Eagles FM 1023. Download our app on your Android and iOS stores. Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja, your radio experience you can count on.
Real men are strong, not because they intimidate, but because they protect. They don't raise their hands to hurt. They raise their voices to help. They don't stay silent when girls are unsafe. They speak up. They take action. A he for her is a man using his strength to build, not break. He stands with her. He speaks for her. He protects her. He walks beside her. Visit www.heforher.org to join the campaign. He for Her, educating boys as allies to girls. This message is brought to you by Beyond the Classroom Foundation with support from the Ignite Project, building a world where every girl is safe, seen, and supported.
If you're just tuning in, my name is Raquel Kasham Daniel, and you can call me RKD. This is the Beyond Her Art Show, and it's our first episode. Well, not so first, like an intro episode, really, because if you're tuning in for the first time, know that next week, Thursday, 3 to 4 p.m., we'll have a guest. I might have Inonga sit if she's free, or it could be someone else with me on the show, but of course, you see every week now until the end of the season with a guest talking about real life situations that they faced, real life challenges that they faced, and how they overcame these difficult challenges. You hear stories right from these people, and they will tell you steps that they used. 12 phenomenal women for 12 weeks. And this is a part of the Beyond House campaign to enable us to share stories about poverty, early pregnancy, rejection, gender-based violence and abuse, family pressure, different things. But you would meet women who have risen and are now using their voices and platform to inspire others. Trust me, we have a complete, fantastic, in fact, amazing lineup, and you don't want to miss it. So yes, you asked a question.
Yes.
Can you ask a question again?
Okay, so my question was, how were you able to overcome peer pressure at that time? Yes, I know. I had said, "Will your good girl pay?" Were there times that you say, should I just compromise? Should I just leave everything and join, what other people are doing? Were there times that the pressure was really heavy on you? And how did you overcome?
Wow. I would be honest, like as I'm talking, I'm getting goosebumps because I'll be honest with you, and I like to say that this, like I mentioned in the intro, this is where there's no filter here. We have to be very honest. There were times when I felt that way because I didn't have a phone when I was living on the street. I didn't have a phone. I had to reach my mom at some point to let her know that I was well, and so, in fact, to end up on the streets, the part of my story that sometimes I skip. I think mentally my part of the story is that I had to end up in my uncle's house, a maternal uncle, and then he tried to rape me. And so I have this scar right here that I got from his door while I was trying to escape my towel, and my hand got stuck in the door, and then I pulled my hand, and then the blood was gushing out. And so I had my towel on, so it was my towel on but she knew something was off. How come I'm wearing a towel and I'm injured? She was not sure what was happening. And she kept giving me the eye and trying to clean me up, and she was wondering my hand, and she wondered, what's going on? Why is it in your towel? And your uncle is here. And I couldn't stay there for another minute. And I took my bag and I left. He left for work, but by the time he came back and his wife, I was gone. And then I didn't have a phone, so nobody could reach me. And I was panicked because he kept calling my mom to say I ran away from his house, but I didn't just run away. And when I told my mom eventually, but she almost didn't want to believe me, because I didn't have a phone to show her the scar. She said, you wanted to go and hang out with friends? Well, I don't even have friends around here. But later on, she believed my story. So I ended up on the street from escaping an uncle who was trying to rape me. And so I would have not been on the street if he had kept taking me in when I left home because I didn't want to get married, because I ended up in his house. So he sent me to the streets by his attempt to rape me. So I lived with that scar. And sometimes I asked myself, I would have had shelter if only I just slept with him. Like, legit, I thought about that a couple of times when I was young. When I was like, didn't Adam's son sleep with his sister? I was saying such things in my head, because I was a teenager. I was 18. I was like, yeah, maybe that's what they did to procreate at the time. Maybe their siblings were sleeping with siblings. This my uncle is not really a bad idea. I won't be here. I was good. I won't be. I was. Let my side. And if you are from Ikoyi, those are familiar with Lagos. I ran on that road, escaping these boys that were high. I ran, and there's this barbed wire that they put to barricade military barracks, and I fell on one, and that's where it yanked my skin. And then this guy that was supposed to be high, that was chasing me with other guys, the other ones running when that happened. I don't know what happened. Up till today, I still thought about it. I felt it was the hand of God. He picked me up and was running to the what's it called, Ikoyi Hospital on the Falomo Road. He was running because the blood gushing so much with me. He carried me. For someone that was going to abuse you with his friends, to now carry to the hospital. And then he ran there, and then at that point, I'm wondering, I was holding my side because the blood was gushing so much. I have a huge scar there. And then we got to the hospital, and then when the lady was writing my name, there's a place on the paper they write occupation, and she wrote Ashewo. because of where he brought me from. Because he asked her, he said he brought me from the brothel, and that's where I live. And I said, that's not who I am. I said, I clean for them. That's not my work. For those who don't know, I always prostitutes. And I was crying. And so the card that she used to fill with my name to admit me to get the thing cleaned out, because he gave the money and it was high, And I would call him Egbon somebody, not mentioning his name. And this Egbon guy that was paid for it. And he kept apologizing to me. But when she was writing my file it with that thing on it. But when I left it, and I'm answering your question, I remember very well, is I asked myself, this is not even paying himself. This old good girl, whatever. I'm getting hurt. I'm not getting fed. I'm cleaning after people that are sleeping with men for money. I don't even have a phone. I was like, it's not even paying me, And when I think about it, no, it's not it. I'm like, no, Sham, it's not worth it. Leave it. Don't worry, you're going to survive. And so I would just ask them and beg them. I was like, okay, fine. Can somebody please give me some money? And they were like, no, I cannot give my body. I go use my body. You can't collect money. I can't use my own body, and then I'll give you the money. And then they won't give me. So, but some that are pathetic towards me would not give me something, or just say you can eat from the food you cook. But I've thought about it countless times, and I thought maybe if I stayed back with my mom and I've married a rich man, I might probably have been okay by now. My brothers would have gone back to school, things would have been better. Maybe my mom wouldn't have died. I kept thinking about that later on, that maybe my mom died because she was really poor, didn't have money, but she was sick though, but that wasn't the issue. Or maybe she should have treated herself better if she had money. Maybe it was my fault, I thought about those things. I felt like maybe I could have done better, maybe I could have just stayed and married and had children and all that. Then I'll look at my children now. I think about the thoughts then. I'm like, well, I still have children now. Like sometimes when I think about it, and they ask me this question about pressure, I'll tell them I was pressured. These girls were wearing clothes that I couldn't even dream about. They had phones that I couldn't even. In fact, when I bought my the one that red bird, some of them it moved to fantastic phones. Like they're like, And I wasn't like I bought the phone there, I left and I came back a couple of times to the street I was curious about what they are doing. So I came back and some of them saw me. And whenever I'm pressured, and what I did on the street when I was pressured is that I used to go to a cafe. I would go to a cafe and then I would just be telling them that I want to pay. So I'll pay for time, but you know what I'll do there? I'll just sleep. Because I didn't know how to operate a computer. So I'll just put my head on the table. So I'll use that 1 hour that I bought time just to sleep. Then if somebody maybe has time, maybe they like 10 minutes left, they give me, I'll now say I have 10 minutes or so. I have 1 hour, 10 minutes to sleep on that desk. Nobody can use the computer. And I might not even use that ticket. But I was just paying for rent space just to put my head and sleep without hearing the sounds of things and people smoking. Because I was constantly high. Because people were smoking Igbo and all that on the street. So you can imagine that I was, and it was really bad. Even with clothes, nobody gave me any piece of clothing. So I had to manage my T-shirt that I had and my one pair of jeans that I had, and I had to manage it for a very long time. But there's this woman that sells bargain. Whenever I share my story, I always mention her. When I'm hungry, I go to her to ask her for. I say, when people buy Ewagoin? Ewagoin is beans that they sell in Lagos that they make and they sell. They hawk it with bread. You eat it with hot bread. Hot bread. Don't put it inside and close it like this and eat like a burger. So I will go to her and ask her if she has leftover. And what she does, she tries to not to have leftover because she wants to sell her business. But if she ever has leftover, she has to give her children. She always kept just in case I come asking. And so sometimes she say, I keep beans for you, come. And I tell her I didn't have time. And then when I go there to eat, and she tell me, those girls, no follow them, and all that. And so that was also an encouragement to me. And eventually when I left the street, one day I woke up and I went to Abalende to look for her, and I met her. And I told her that I was in the University of Lagos, and she was weeping. She was so happy to meet me. She was like, oh my God, she was so happy to see me. But then her children didn't get the opportunity to do a lot of things that they wanted to do with their life. But my church was now doing an outreach, and I made sure that she got involved in getting gifts. So she was older time, but our children were older, but all in the street, all gone in different direction. But she was getting those handouts from church. When church comes to give people food, I always ensure that I volunteer with Changing Our Foundation with church, so that I will go to her and tell her to come and collect the things from church. And that was somebody that encouraged me as a teenager. She would tell me, no, follow them, don't follow them, don't follow those girls. So just do your own and go.